Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of MS Gamers Hut, and I'm your host, Ted Michael. So, how did you enjoy the games I reviewed last week? I'm still running around trying to catch some Pokemon. How about you all? Have you caught any interesting Pokemon? Or have you built something marvelous in Minecraft? This week, in honor of Halloween coming this Tuesday, I'm reviewing some very scary games for you. So, find a good place to hide and be ready to be scared. The first app I'm going to talk about is Unkilled. With Halloween on its way, I couldn't help but review a game for a spooky celebration, and what better choice is there than a good zombie game that deals with the most famous apocalyptic of recent years. Unkilled is a game with lots of zombies, killing, and gore. Fighting against the undead will never become boring, will it? Games such as this are the proof that zombies myth is here to stay and order fear and chills to us all, especially during Halloween. In Unkilled, the MC, Joe, finds himself in the middle of a post-apocalyptic New York that is almost completely conquered by the undead. As part of the anti-zombie unit Wolfpack, a private military organization designed to find, track, and eliminate zombies before they take over the world, he's trying to find a way out, killing as many zombies as possible in the process of saving people. There's also seems to be a evil organization behind the scenes run by someone known as the General that is somehow connected to the outburst. When the game begins, you are shown a small cinematic that aims to make you familiar with the situation you'll have to deal with. Needless to say, destruction and chaos are main elements of what you'll see. Zombies of all kinds causing havoc, and you trying to survive the hell despite the chances of getting out alive being low. As a first-person shooter game, aiming is your top priority. So having smooth and intuitive controls is absolutely necessary, and thankfully, Unkilled excels in that aspect. You use your left thumb to choose where you move to, and your right thumb to turn your head and look at any direction. Shooting shouldn't be of any concern to you, as your weapon fires automatically every time you lock on a zombie. This definitely takes one burden away, because there are times when hordes of zombies attacks, and aiming will be hard enough by itself. There are, however, occasions where you'll have to cover your squad mates by using a large immovable weapon and rifles. You'll have to aim and shoot by yourself, and it is a bit tricky, but challenging at the same time. When you finish a mission, you are transported to the mission map, which shows you where you are and the next mission you're currently assigned to. Every time you complete a level, you are given special rewards in the form of cards that equip you with either weapons, gadgets, boosters, chests, and time to match the difficulty for the next level. When you upgrade, you can choose the normal process, which has a timer for the upgrade to be finished and ranges from a few seconds to many minutes depending on the upgrade. Alternatively, you can spend gold to speed up the process. Boost ups include multi-rockets that equip your gun with abilities to fire 3 high-X guided rockets, and as a result increases the impact of firing and destroying zombies in one try. Adrenaline that gives you the ability to slow down time to help you aim better, and at the same time increase the damage, XP, and income. Medicine supplies to recover your health, and more. Money is also part of the collectibles and is necessary for upgrading your weapons, unless you want to spend gold to avoid the timers, as I mentioned earlier. Sometimes destroying zombies will leave behind medicine for you to collect. Ammunition is also not a problem, as you have unlimited amounts on each mission. There's only a small gap of 1 to 3 seconds during which the gun needs to refill automatically to continue firing. Each mission includes some submissions apart from the main one, like finishing with full health or killing an X number of zombies with a certain weapon. These submissions are important if you want to have a perfect 3-star score for better rewards. One of the Unkilled's mini strength is the visuals. The characters are very realistically designed, the zombies grosser than ever, and the gore very detailed for smartphone standard. The graphics are crystal clear, and the moody color fits the post-apocalyptic atmosphere perfectly. The music is also in par with the plot and builds up the tension masterfully. All in all, Unkilled is a great zombie shooter. Although it might get repetitive in the process, it offers a great deal of fun for the player with smooth controls, helpful guidelines, and good graphics. It's not the best shooter out there, but it's a great addition to the genre of a game that zombie fans will appreciate. Give it a try, and let me know your thoughts and impressions. The next game I'd like to talk about is Into the Dead. There is no hope of survival. Either you keep going one step after another, or you die. This is the truth of most zombie films. That promises sanctuary just doesn't exist, and it's also the truth of endless runners. Most runners don't acknowledge that underlying horror. Into the Dead embraces it. It is a game that thrives on commitment to its experience, both from its developer at Pickpoke and from its players. You can turn the sound off and grind your way through for coins and unlocks, or you can pop in a pair of headphones and listen to your own raged breathing as you push through the zombie-infested fields and forests, one individual alone, surrounded and without any hope of rescue. If you buy into the experience, it's an impressive one. You stumble along in first person, injured, perhaps by the helicopter crash that you're fleeing. Your steps are heavy, you're bent over in pain, you're unarmed. Zombie shuffles almost impredictably along, not particularly motivated to chase you down, but perfectly willing to reach out and grab you should you get too close. There is a visual intensity to the game. If you graze too close to a zombie, you stumble, quite possibly careening into another. You might empty a gun you've found into the walker in your way, then see a supply drop nearby, but unreachable. A span of corpses between you and it. Eventually, you will stumble into the waiting arms of a zombie, and you will die. The experience gets distinctly less atmospheric from there. You're rewarded for your success with coins. Those coins can be used to pay for perks, which cost little and last enough one round. It's easier to survive when you can pay to start with a gun or to jump ahead 1,500 meters, hold more ammo, or find more weapon crates. If you only use your coins for perks, you don't insist on using all four every round, you'll be fine. Coins can also be used to skip missions or unlock new weapons early. The second is nearly pointless. The first can be a good idea. Some of the missions are fun and can be completely in the normal course of play. Others are mind-numbing. Along with the zombie slaying massacre mode, they add some much-needed variety to the game. But it is not a game that goes well with endless grinding certain types of kills. That's the sort of thing that takes you right out of the moment. The same could be said for the advertisement shown in between rounds and in menus. For a game that's so good at sucking you in, these breaks the immersion in a tacky way. But as I understand it, Pickpoke is planning on adding options in a future update, so it remains a minor annoyance for now. Even if you hold tight to the atmosphere and play right, just right, the moment eventually stops being enough. That's the thing about horror. No matter how intensely it begins, enough repetition will eventually grind you down to a discomforting banality. There will come a time you'll try to traverse the same cornfield and forest, weaving through the same ever-growing horde and giving the game's relatively lack of variety. That time may be sooner than it would in the most runners. Regardless, Into the Dead is well and truly worth the download. When it works unbelievably well, and with no asking price for those early heart-pounding moments, there's absolutely no reason not to get this game. The next game I'd like to talk about is Five Nights at Freddy's. Going into this game, I knew it was supposed to be a really frightening and involved the nightmarish horrors more commonly known as animatronic mascots trying to kill you, but that's about it. Well, it turns out there wasn't a lot more to it than that, but that starts with the premise. You play as Mike Schmidt, a newly hired night security guard at Freddy's Foosball Pizzeria, a restaurant similar to Chuck E. Cheese and its variants. The restaurant has seen better days following a couple of incidents and can't afford to let you go all wild using electricity. Everything you do consumes some of your precious power budget for the night, and if you run out, it's lights out. That doesn't sound like such a big problem, except for one little thing. The animatronics mascots that perform for the children during the day are a bit off. They roam around at night so that their machinery doesn't lock up or something, and if they happen to see you, they'll assume you're a robot out of costume and try to help you out. They'll do that by cramming you into a Freddy's Foosball suit. But since they're not meant for humans, the process will unfortunately result in your gruesome demise. While they're free to roam around, you are not. You're confined to the office and can only pan across the scene, check the cameras, switch the hallway lights on either side on and off, and close or open emergency doors to the hallways. These doors are your only protection from the robots, but if you use them too often, they'll certainly run out of power by morning. The key, then, is to keep tabs on where each robot is at any given time using the cameras, and close the doors if they approach the office. This is all done by tapping a few different buttons. So it's straightforward to play. Each robot has its own particular routine and quirks, and each night they'll become more intelligent and aggressive. If you survive the week, you'll collect a sweet paycheck and get laid off for your troubles. It'll probably take you a little while before you get good enough to survive that week, though. There's actually quite a lot going on beyond the surface in 5 nights, if you look for it. If you choose not to, it's a very straightforward game that essentially pits you against your own paranoia and curiosity. That electricity percentage is basically measuring how much you can afford to indulge your irrational fears. And if you listen to your imagination too much, you will certainly lose. It's enormously clever in its simplicity, almost like a magic trick playing on your emotions. You'll very rarely catch any of the robots moving, but in flickering between cameras, you'll catch glimpses of them. More importantly, you can hear them. And without any background music or similar distraction, the sounds of their clanking around gets the main stage in the audio. At the start of each night, you'll also get a phone call from the previous security guard who helps establish the setting and gives you some important tips, like checking in on Foxy from time to time. We never do find out his name, but he's pretty much your only lifeline in the whole mess. Going deeper, you can find all kinds of interesting details in the backgrounds if you look hard enough. You also might notice some things changing that have no reason to be changing. If you're very lucky, you'll even get a visit from a special mascot. That's a lot more lore behind the setting than you've ever needed to notice. But if you search it out, you will start to piece together some disturbing things that help add to the atmosphere. If you really pay attention, you might even start to notice how certain robots only enter particular rooms or approach from certain sides, which will help you enter particular rooms or approach from certain sides, which will help you stay alive. The game is pretty hard, but it ramps itself challenge up nicely. You'll certainly survive the first night when only 2 of the robots are in play and not very aggressive. The second night makes them a little more agitated, but it's not until the third night, where Freddy himself joins the wandering, that business really picks up. Once you complete the 5 nights, there are still a few little surprises ahead for you, but nothing too big. If you're steady enough to avoid getting rattled and pay attention to the patterns, you can get through the whole game pretty quickly. The AI doesn't follow the exact same routine every time, but certain behaviors are fixed, so while you can replay the game and get something out of it, once you've worked out the rules and get past your fear and paranoia, most of the game becomes a bit of a snooze on repeat trips. That's fine, since the game is more focused on delivering and emotional experience than being some kind of gameplay classic you pull off yourself for years to come. But it's important that you come into it aware, and that if you want to enjoy yourself fully. Whether Five Nights at Freddy's clicks for you or not, it's heavily reliant on how well it manages to shake you. If the atmosphere doesn't get to you, all that's left is a very simple game of red lights, green light. If I'm to be honest, this is what happened to me. I wasn't particularly scared or paranoid playing it, probably because I didn't play it in a very spooky condition. By the time I did get around to trying it out in a dark place with the sound up nice and high, I had already seen most of its cards. Still, I can appreciate that what's going on with the design here, and I think as long as you approach the game with a mind to its intended atmosphere, it'll likely produce the desired effect in you. If you're just going to play it on the bus or something, you're probably better off spending the weekend at Bernie's instead. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of MS Gamers Hut. As usual, I'd like to thank MS&Me Radio for giving me the opportunity to share my passion for games, and to my listeners, because without you, there would be no MS Gamers Hut. Next week, I will be checking out some simulator games. Goodbye, and keep gaming.